That Lass at LOWRIE'S by Francis Hodgson Burnett. Chapter 20. Sammy Craddock made his appearance at Mr. Haviland's promptly, and being shown into the library, which was empty, took a seat and proceeded to regard the surroundings critically. "Dunna scald thy nose with thy own broth," Mrs. Craddock had said to him warningly when he left her. "Keep a civil tongue in thy head. Thy time for saucing thy betters is past and gone. They'll have to tack both fat and lean together in these days, or go without mate." Sammy remembered these sage remarks rather sorely as he sat awaiting the master of the household. His independence had been very dear to him, and the idea that he must relinquish it was a grievous thorn in the flesh. He glanced around at the pictures and statuettes and shook his head dubiously. "A mon with so many crinkum-crankums as he seems to ha' getten 'll be apt to be rayther set in politics, and I'll warrant this isna the best parlour neither. All the wall covered with books too, an ornamental step-ladder to climb up to thy shelves. Well, Sammy, old lad, thou's not seen all the world yet, thou finds out. There's a bit of summat outside Riggan. After all, it does a mon no hurt to travel. I shouldna wonder if I might see things as I never heard on, if I gettin as far as the Continent. There's France now. Folks say as they dunna speak Lancashire in France, and canna so much as understand it. Well, there's ignorance all over the world." The door opened at this juncture, and Mr. Haviland entered, fresh, florid, and cordial. His temperament being an easy one, he rather dreaded collision with anybody, and would specially have disliked an uncomfortable interview with this old fellow, of whom people generally had such a bad opinion. He would like to be able to preserve his affability of demeanour for his own sake, as well as for Miss Barhome's. "Ah," he said, "Craddock, is it? Glad to see you, Craddock." Sammy rose from his seat. "Aye," he answered. "Samuel Craddock fra Riggan. Same to you, master." Mr. Haviland waved his hand good-naturedly. "Take your seat again," he said. "Don't stand. You are the older man of the two, you know, and I dare say you are tired with your walk. You came about the lodge-keeper's place." "That little lass at thou parson's," began Sammy, unconsciously irreverent. "Miss Annie Barhome," interposed Mr. Haviland. "Yes, she told me she would send you. I never had the pleasure of seeing her until she drove here yesterday to ask for the place for you. She was afraid to lose time in waiting for her father's return." "You never saw her afore?" "No." "Well," rubbing his hands excitedly over the knob of his stick, "who's a rarer un than I thought for, even. Who'll stand at nowt, won't that little wench?" And he gave vent to his feelings in a delighted chuckle. "I'd like to ask you," he added, "where's t'other lass as would ha' had the pluck to do as Mitch?" "I don't think there is another woman in the country who would have done it," said Mr. Haviland, smiling. "We shall agree in our opinion of Miss Barhome, I see, Craddock, if we quarrel about everything else." Sammy took out his flowered bandana and wiped his bald forehead. He was at once mollified and encouraged. He felt that he was being treated with a kind of respect and consideration. Here was one of the gentry who placed himself on a friendly footing with him. Perhaps upon the whole he should not find it so difficult to reconcile himself to his change of position after all. If he might retain his open expression of opinion, the rest would not seem so bad, and being thus encouraged, a certain bold simplicity made him address himself to Mr. Haviland, not as a servant in perspective to a prospective master, but as man to man. "The fact is," he said, "as I am not much o' a lass's mon mysen, and I wunna say as I am much opinion of women folk in general, they flighty, you see, they flighty. But I mun say, as I were took by that little wench at parson's, I were took by her. She would be glad to hear it, I am sure, with an irony so suave that Sammy proceeded with fresh gravity. "I mak no doubt on it," dogmatically. "I mak no doubt on it, in th' world, but I dunna know as the flattery 'ud do her good. Sugar sop is no digestible to the best of 'em. They had to be held a bit in check, you see. But who's a wonderful little lass, for a lass, I mun admit. Seems a pity to ha' wasted so much good lad metal on a slip o' a wench, doesn't it?" "You think so?" "Well, that is a matter of opinion, you know. However, concerning the lodge-keeper's place, you understand what your duties would be, I suppose?" "Tending gates and the like? Aye, sir. Th' little lass told me all about it, who isna one as misses out." "So I see," smiling again. "And you think you can perform them?" "I were thinking so. Dinna strike me as a mon need to be particular muscular to do reet thing by 'em. I think I could tackle 'em without breaking down." After a brief discussion of the subject, it was agreed upon that Mr. Craddock should be installed as keeper of the lodge the week following. "As to politics," said Mr. Haviland, when his visitor rose to depart, "I hear you are something of a politician, Craddock." "Summat a one, sir," answered Sammy, his evident satisfaction touched with a doubtful gravity. "Summat a one. I have my opinions on things in general." "So I have been told, and they have made you rather unpopular among our county people, perhaps?" "I amna much a favourite," with satisfaction. "No, the fact is that until Miss Barhome came to me, I had rather a bad idea of you, Craddock." This looked somewhat serious, Craddock regarding it rather in the light of a challenge. "I'd like well enough to have you change it," he said, "but my coat isna o' the turning web. I mun ha' me say about things, gentry or no gentry." And his wrinkled old visage expressed so crabbed a determination to remain unmoved that Mr. Haviland laughed outright in the most tolerant of humours. "Oh, I don't misunderstand me," he said. "Stick to your party, Craddock. We will try to agree, for Miss Barhome's sake. I will leave you to your opinion, and you will leave me to mine. Even a member of Parliament has a right to an opinion, you know, if he doesn't intrude it upon the public too much." Craddock went home in a mollified frame of mind. He felt that he had gained his point and held his ground, and he respected himself accordingly. He felt, too, that his associates had additional right to respect him. It was their ground, too, and he had held it for them as well as for himself. He stopped at the Crown for his midday glass of ale, and his self-satisfaction was so evident that his friends observed it, and remarked amongst themselves that th' old lad were picking up his crumbs a bit. "You're looking greyly to-day, Sammy," said one. "I'm feeling a trifle greylier than I had done," he answered oracularly. "Things is looking up." "I'm main glad to hear it. Tell us as how." "Well," with studied indifference, "it's no on so great luck in comparison, but it's summat to be thankful for to a man as is down in world. I've getten the lodge-keeper's place at Mr. Haviland's." "Thou never says. Who'd ha' thought it? However did that come about?" "Friends in court," with dignity. "Friends in court. Hand me that jug of ale, Tommy. Haviland's a mon o' discretion, if he is a member of Parliament. We've had quite a friendly chat this morning, as we sat in library together. He isna so bad in his politics, after all's said and done. He'll do, upon th' whole." "You stood up to him free enough, I warrant," said Tommy. "The gentlefolk don't often hear such free speaking as you give 'em, Sammy." "Well, I had to be a bit independent. It were natural. It wouldn't ha' done to ha' turned soft, if he were master and meek mon. But he's a mon o' sense, as I say, and he was civil enough and friendly enough. He's getting gumption to see his politics is politics. I'll tell you what, lads, I'm coming to th' opinion as happens there's more sense in summat gentry than we give 'em credit for. They are no much but boot-lining in their heads, it's true, but they noan so bad, some on 'em, if you're charitable wi' 'em." "Who was thy friend in court, Sammy?" was asked next. Sammy's fist went down upon the table with a force which made the mugs dance and rattle. "Now thou'rt coming to the meeting, Theg," he said. "Who should tha think it were, that had the goodwill and Thed to tak the business in hond?" "It'd be hard to say." "Why, it were that little lass at Thou Parson's again. Dommed if she wunna run all Riggin in a 12-month. I dunna know where she getting her head filling from, unless she robbed Thou Parson and left his knob standing empty. Happen that's what's up with Thou chap.